is, if you remember from the first class, Belloc said that a society can't function without religion. Individuals might be able to, but societies cannot function without religion. Because when you take religion out of society, the best you can hope for is either indirect egotism or direct egotism to guide your culture. So you're either dealing with direct egotism, basically saying that the only reason I'm going to live in society with any of you is because I want you to make a society that I want to be a part of, right? So why don't I go around beating people up and stealing people's purses? Well, because I don't want to live in a society that's okay. Essentially, if you take religion out of society and you say that we're going to be bound together to live with one another without any religious beliefs, well, what's going to keep us bound and functioning? It's going to end up being self-preservation. It's just going to say, well, I'll treat you nice if you treat me nice, right? And it kind of becomes this quid pro quo type of thing. Or indirect egotism, this idea of being charitable towards other people, essentially because it makes you feel good. And so there's atheists, Richard Dawkins here, Christopher Hitchens here. There's atheists who heartily endorse doing charity work, who are very active in social welfare and things. We talked about Bill Gates last week, whom I mentioned. My dad and I have the unfortunate connection with Bill Gates because we don't get any of his money. All we get is labeled with his kind of atheistic social stances. And so some of them are spending millions of dollars to try to enforce their worldview, like Bill Gates is trying to sterilize the world basically and give people vaccines that also make them sterile. And he thinks that we can reduce the population of the world by giving people food, because if people have enough food, then they won't think they need to have so many kids because they know that their one kid will survive. So he says all kinds of crazy things. But anyways, so we get this idea of, well, yeah, you should help other people, but essentially it's just to get your own good out of it. It's just that so you can make the world how you want to make it, or to feel good. I call it the Sesame Street charity. The idea, I've got 2 little kids, and I'll crack up because I'm watching on Sesame Street, and I might have shared this story with some of you before in a previous class, but one of the little characters is kind of down in the dumps, and it's because they have to go help somebody else. And then the adult, supposed to be this figure of wisdom, saying, well, hey, you don't help people because it's fun. That's what the character said. It's not going to be any fun to do that. You don't help people because it's fun. You help people, and I'm like waiting for the nice, teaching on charity. You help people because it feels good. And then they sing a song about that, it feels good to help people. That's postmodernism. That's what a society that functions without religion teaches. That's what, and again, I'm not meaning to be on a soapbox, but that's what you have to teach in public schools. I mean, it is. I went to public school for 12 years, and overall I had a great education. But that's the way things like that are taught if you take religion out of your curriculum and out of your social worldview. You help people only because you want to live in a society of other people that will help you when you're sick, or because it feels good to do it. Whereas both of those things you'll see are far to the auxiliary of what the church would teach of why you help people. We believe you're supposed to help people even when it doesn't feel so good, and even when it's very much a sacrifice. Do we hope you feel good from doing it? Yeah, but is that the reason you're doing it? Absolutely not. And all of it comes from a very religious belief. Any way you slice it, you can't explain why you will treat people with compassion without religion. You can't do it. I would defy you to be able to give me a social worldview that makes a positive society without religion, because ultimately it breaks down. Ultimately, it comes down to one of those 2 things. And guess what's going to happen with postmodernism? What happens when I no longer think I have any dignity, right? Because all of these things are rooted in, I want a good society for myself and my kids, okay? Even if I don't have religion, I want to live in a good world so I and my kids can survive. What happens when I don't care about myself and when I don't want to have any kids? That's postmodernism. I don't care about anything anymore. I care about living out the rest of my life in whatever way I can. There's no society there. There's no culture.